Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and these are Charter Moms Chats, where we share information to help families find great education options for their kids. And today, we're not talking about a school, but we're talking about a different concept, which is brain training. And our guest is Gina Cruz, and she's the owner of LearningRx San Antonio Northeast, which is a brain training center. And Gina and her team wrote an amazing guest post that opened my eyes about all kinds of things like different cognitive skills and neuroplasticity. And we're going to get into all that exciting stuff. So Gina, thank you so much for joining me on Charter Mom Chats, and thank you for the guest blog post.
Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you for having us. This is such an honor.
Yeah. So, okay. So just for people who haven't heard about LearningRx San Antonio Northeast, can you kind of explain it in a nutshell?
Yes, certainly. So we are not tutoring, we're a brain training center. So what we do is we enhance and exercise cognitive function so that learning and thinking can be easier and faster.
Yeah, I think people, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that our mission, is to just help as many people in San Antonio as we can. And we love that we can work with 4-year-olds through 99 plus, anybody that wants to improve their performance and their thinking and their learning, we've got you covered.
Yeah, you mentioned about tutoring, right? Because I think that question comes up a lot in the Facebook discussion group about tutoring, but that's about helping a child like learn the content and like master a particular subject. I know that we got a math tutor for my son that really helped him with algebra, which during the pandemic that was really hard. But
Yes.
with in the guest post that it tells like Erin Kerman tells her story about her son and how it raised his expectations about what he could do with his career. And I think that's so exciting. But I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I want you to share with people about your journey. Like, how did you, because you have a lot of interesting qualifications, I think, that all, led you to this place of being able to help people improve their cognitive skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. So I started off as a teacher. Actually, I was a Pal in high school, and I loved working with people with special needs. And so I knew that I wanted to go into special education. So when I went to school, that's what I studied along with elementary education. And then I started off as a teacher at the best school that I could ever work at, which was Randolph Elementary School, and I was a PPCD teacher there. So I worked with children with special needs, that learned differently and thought differently, and a lot of them had neurodivergent brains, so just all different kinds of children. But I loved doing that, and at the same time, I felt a little bit limited. I am one of those people that wants to make the biggest, greatest impact that I can in someone's life, and while I was able to do that somewhat, there just wasn't enough time in the day. And I wanted to be a part of something even bigger, where I was able to get to kind of the root of the issue instead of just accommodating or modifying. I wanted to be able to help them improve their ability so that their whole lives could change because their brain function was so much stronger. So that's what we did. We opened LearningRx. I was 28 years old. I did open this almost 17 years ago, and we have worked with thousands of people in San Antonio. And, the life changes that we see and the confidence that we build, that is why we do what we do.
Yeah, and your education journey is ongoing, right? So what are you studying?
It is. So I'm studying educational psychology. I'm one of those two that just loves to learn. And, the more that I can improve and better myself, the more that I can help people. So I just kind of keep going. Hopefully I will be graduating with my doctorate and PhD in December of 2023. And I am just fascinated by the brain and how the brain learns. And so we just have a perfect system here because that's exactly what we do. We impact how the brain learns and functions.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about how you were talking about how we lit up talking about your time as a teacher, and I was thinking about the best special ed teachers that we've experienced in my son's education were the ones who saw how much potential he had, and that with the right interventions, how he could live up to that potential. And I think that's the best of special education is, when teachers have, this faith in their students and see the potential and are willing to get creative to find the right tools.
Yes.
but like in the education setting, you can be limited. So, but, like this, the blog post, and like as I've learned more about what LearningRx does, it's helped me understand about the importance of cognitive skills. So I was wondering if you could talk more about that.
Absolutely. So there are 7 core cognitive skills that really help us to learn, acquire information, retain information, and then recall it when we need it. And so what we do is we first assess those abilities to see, where are they? Are there deficiencies? Are there strengths? Most of us do have weaknesses and strengths. And so we evaluate that, and we look at long-term memory and working memory, visual and auditory processing, logic and reasoning, as well, and processing speed. So we're literally, by exercising those areas of the brain, growing new neural connections in the brain and helping those pathways function quicker, which allows us to be able to learn and think easier.
Yeah, well, I think that what you've just described, like that set of cognitive skills, like that explains like what is the content of what LearningRx is working on that's different from like it's not
Yes.
this is not algebra or reading or history, or this is more like the basics about how we learn and and about how our brain functions.
Yes, absolutely. And so if you think of cognitive skills, so like the foundation to learning. So when we're in school and as teachers, we build on a foundation. But if the foundation is faulty or it has gaps in it, then it doesn't really matter how many times you review this information. You have to eventually fill in those gaps. We do work with a lot of people. You were talking about your son, and I think that we do a really great job of understanding the neurodivergent learner. We work with a lot of people with ADHD, people on the autism spectrum, with dyslexia. And, all that really means is that they learn and think differently. And those people still have a lot of strengths. I'm sure your son has a lot of great gifts and things he's capable of. But at the same time, they do have some deficits typically that are just causing, their pathways not to work as well. There's, usually a little something physiologically going on in the brain that's causing their brain not to work as well. But they also have many strengths. So that's what I love about this. It's all about neuroplasticity, and it's all about being able to change the brain. We know that the brain can change. That's exciting. That's what research and science tells us. And, so neuroplasticity, what's the root word there? It's plastic. So the brain is plastic, okay? It's bendable, it can change. And that's what I think a lot of people don't realize, is that we can absolutely change the way the brain is working. And that is really the root of learning difficulties. And that's what makes us so exciting, so excited to do what we do.
Well, I think
At
for
LearningRx.
neuroplasticity, I think people they may be, well, I think, okay, like there are sort of critical phases in development, right? Like young children learning language and things like that. But I think people get that confused and think that our brains kind of stop growing at some point, like maybe when
Right.
we're teenagers or something. But I know from my own experience with like learning different habits, and how to be more productive and how to manage anxiety and depression, and
Yes.
people in my family who needed to build more social skills in order to move into management, and that there's so much we can do with our brains as adults, or like, and then my dad, who's an older adult, he's 88, and his hobby is writing self-published history books, and he does little book
I
signings at the
love
Twig
that.
and stuff, and right, and I'm like, man, this is great. It's like the whole universe
Wow.
is his subject, and so he kind of
Hmm.
assigns himself stuff, and he keeps his brain super sharp. He's
I
also, he goes on hikes with us, but
Oh,
but
wow. That's amazing. He sounds like he's both physically and mentally fit. That's awesome. I think that people,
yeah,
they don't realize that the brain can change. They also maybe don't realize the brain controls every single thing that we do. So when somebody struggles to read, they're likely going to be weak in auditory processing. Okay. When somebody struggles to focus and pay attention, processing speed and working memory can be a big issue. So you're right in that when we exercise and gain new experiences, we help to improve those areas. But that's what we target at LearningRx. So we literally assess and see what's going on, and then we target those deficits by exercising the brain.
Yeah. So can you talk more about the cognitive skills assessment? Because I know like in like Erin Kerwin, and she's sharing her son's story and like what a revelation it was for her family to find out like, where the deficits were. Like um yeah, just how does the skills assessment work?
So we administer a gold standard cognitive assessment. So it is one that psychologists give. Sometimes schools will give it if they're concerned about a student. And it really is this great window into the brain. It's so amazing when I review these results with families and they're able to see, it's like, how did you know that? Well, our cognitive skills shape us. They're what allow us to be able to function. And so that's what the test does, is it identifies cognitive strengths and weaknesses. And with that, I'm able to then go and interpret that and say, that is exactly why this is happening, because of processing speed. Or, when they're really struggling in Spanish immersion and they're struggling to read, that is typically auditory processing, like I mentioned. If somebody struggles in math, logic and reasoning may be an issue. So there's always a reason for a struggle. And if it has gone on for a long period of time, that's when we know tutoring isn't the best option. I think tutoring has its place and it can be very effective. Sometimes that's all people need, and I'll be the first one to tell you that. But if the struggle has been ongoing, then there is typically a deeper issue. And Inga, we see the most amazing students here. We have so many stories, so many life changes. One day I got a call on my cell phone from a mom and her daughter, and it had been like 5 years since I talked to them. And she called me to tell me that she just got an A in AP English, and she is dyslexic and she could not read very well before. And so that blows my mind, but it is just so powerful and so profound. And that's what we're all about.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, okay, so thanks for connecting up like what the cognitive skills assessment does. And I know you've talked about neuroplasticity, right? Which is the idea that brains are changeable, they're trainable. But there's also a concept you mentioned earlier that I want you to elaborate on, which is neurodivergence and neurodiversity, because that's something that comes up a lot in the group. I think it's what do people need to know about what does neurodivergent mean, or what does neurodiversity mean?
Yes, so neurodiversity just means that a brain that is neurodivergent thinks a little bit differently. And, I love that. Neurodivergent brains, those are the people that are most fun to work with. Like I said, they can have many, many cognitive strengths and abilities that some of us don't have, but it also can lead to some challenges as well, like with attention and focus, or being able to read well, things like that. And so what we do is we just kind of reshape and retrain the brain to be able to, if needed, function better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate how you frame that in a very positive way, because I think sometimes families like mine, we have autism in the family, that sometimes we're presented with what feels like criticism or a sense of deficit, right? Like, oh, this is
Right.
missing, this is missing, but you see the strengths, and it's more like, okay, how do we shore that up so that these strengths can
Yes,
come out, and so that these
absolutely.
neurodivergent brains can bring so much to society.
Absolutely. Some of the most creative brains are those that are neurodivergent. It's about thinking outside of the box. A lot of people with dyslexia can just think outside of the box. People with ADHD are very, very creative. People with ASD tend to be very strong logically, but also visual processing wise. So they really, that is their strength. So I love to talk about those gifts because those are amazing things. It's not a negative term. It just means that the brain learns a little bit differently. And if we can improve anything, even if you don't have a neurodivergent brain, if you have the opportunity to become better, to perform better, to think faster and to be able to learn easier, why wouldn't we do that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and okay, that's a good lead into my next question, which is So for clients who, they talk to you and they do the assessment, the cognitive skills assessment, and then the next step after that is that they begin brain training. So what does brain
Yes.
training look like? And I know I got to peek into the center and see, right, there's these desks, and that's where, like, the trainers work with the students,
Yes.
whether they're children, teens, adults, older adults.
Yes.
But what does brain training look like?
That room that you're talking about, that is where the action happens. So brain training is so fun. It is different than anything that you probably can imagine, but it is 100% customized to that person. So the reason why we assess first is because we need to know what to target and train. So it's much like going to a gym and you hire a personal trainer. They're going to measure your BMI and check your body, your weight, all of that, and then also get your goals, right? What you want to accomplish. And then they create a program around that. That's the same thing that we do here. So we create a program around what that client needs and wants. And then in brain training, we're utilizing all different kinds of materials and processes. We use a metronome and a stopwatch to really speed up the brain and to create automaticity in the brain, so that those skills, we don't have to think about using them anymore. They become automatic. And that is all done one-on-one. And every single session, as you can imagine, we accomplish things in this session. Well, the next one, what are we going to accomplish there? So every single session is customized so that we can get the most improvement for our students.
Yeah, wow, that's really exciting. I hope that the folks listening to this are having a sense of hope, and because I know for my own family, getting the autism diagnosis was scary because it felt like we felt grief, or like, are we giving up the dreams that we had for our son? And then over time, as we got help, like, so for him, speech therapy was very helpful, especially dealing with social communication. That, right, like,
Mhm.
he you could understand his speech, he spoke clearly, but just thinking in terms of, oh, I need to say it out loud so that this other person understands, and that,
Right.
because everything needs a social context, right? So
That's
so
right.
it's like what you described. So, right, whether you can help someone with their processing, and it unlocks these other parts of their brain. For my son, he needed help with communication, and that unlocked his ability to function in class and do teamwork and things like that.
Yes, and that you
And
bring up a really good point, right? Because social skills are so important. And we've even had people say that we've noticed that they are communicating better, they are relating to people better. Sometimes we get people that come in and say, I can't keep up with the conversation with my friends. I don't know what they're saying. It's confusing. They're talking too fast, or maybe they can't remember the last thing that was said. And so by improving brain function again, you become a better communicator. You're able to express yourself better. You're able to regulate your emotions better. You're able to even focus and attend better. Inga, we do something so fun in the brain training area. It gets really loud in there, and that is all intentional. So we actually add distractions to training. So you know how we used to kind of think that if your child struggles to focus, well, let's put them in a very quiet spot so they can focus and get their work done. Don't do that, because when you do that, actually you're getting their brain used to needing quiet, and that's not real life. The workplace is not quiet, school classrooms are not quiet. So we actually insert distractions on purpose so that our students their brains can get used to focusing and attending and filtering out distractions. That is so, so important. So we do a lot of fun things like that. Everything we do has a purpose. We're not always like the solution for everybody, but we can help most any person. We even get young people going into med school, going into law school. I had somebody that came, her husband became her trainer. She came from Corpus Christi. We get people from all over. And she was taking a test to be a PA, and she could not pass it. And so we trained her here. Her husband trained her at home, and she passed the test, So really, this is for anybody. And it's just amazing what happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was wondering if you could focus more on Erin Kerwin's story that she shared in the guest post, and it's. I want to encourage everybody. Actually, I'm going to put the link up on the screen. So if you go to shchartermoms.com, this is the brand new top post on there. If you're watching this later, just search for Learning RX, and it'll pop up. But Erin, it's very heartfelt. Like her son had, as a young guy, wanted to
Mm,
be a doctor, and then felt like
yes.
he was struggling in school, and then
Mhm.
was worried he'd have to give up on his dream.
Yes, such an amazing story. Erin actually brought three of her children here. So the blog post is about one of them, but they all had great results. Um, Cruz is, such a special guy. He very smart, but he did have some weaknesses that were just holding him back slightly from being able to function at his best, right? And so we customized a program for him. He was very diligent, very consistent in his attendance, and that helps a lot. And he had a great positive attitude. That's not always what we receive coming in, but that's okay. We work with everybody, but Cruz, that's how he came in. And we were able to build up his processing speed and those deficits that he had. And he was a star football player at Johnson, and he went on to also be a star football player in college. It helped him remember the plays better. He was faster. So again, changing the brain can help in every aspect of life. It's not just in school and learning. It's in all aspects.
Right.
So we
Yeah.
love Cruz's story. We have so many stories like that. The biggest change we see in people is their confidence. And that's the fastest change we usually see as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That
Okay. So
Cruz also,
go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say one more thing. Cruz also, he didn't even know that he was a genius. His IQ was pretty high coming in, but when he left, it was in the genius level. So he could join Mensa.
Wow.
So smart. And, if you think about it, cognitive skills, those are what make up our IQ. So IQ is not static, just like the brain is not static. So when you change cognitive function, you can actually raise IQ, and that shows in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the type of thing. Those are some of the skills I think that families will pass on to each other. But that if a child is coming to school and they haven't gotten that kind of support at home, right? Like having a parent sit and read with them, or taking them to museums or taking them to art exhibits or whatever, then they need that kind of support in schools. I have the
Yes.
privilege to be able to visit lots of schools, and I think some of the schools that do the best work, they may not call it brain training or cognitive skills, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the kind of thing that they're adding in to what the
Yes.
kids learn. Not just like, okay, it's just these facts and figures, but it's more like
Mhm.
how to question what you're learning, and
Yes.
just how to always keep improving, and believing that we have that growth mindset, that we're always
Yes.
mutable, that the goal is out there. We just need to figure out how to get there, and it's
Mhm.
not about these obstacles outside our control getting in our way. It's what can we control that's going to
Yes.
get us there.
Oh, you said that so beautifully. A growth
Oh,
mindset is so important. We love to be able to provide tips for parents too, what they can do at home to improve skills. So we love to share. But you are amazing. I love what you talk about and what you advocate for. And any way that we can help, with your mission, we're on board.
oh, well, hey, that's actually a great segue. I'm going to so folks, Gina is graciously hosting our next Level Up event. So these are kind of these like small like lunch hour Q&A. So on Thursday, May 4th, we're going to be at LearningRx San Antonio Northeast. Actually, let me put up on the screen. I didn't have it ready yet, but there's a part of our website where you can get the details about Level Up. And we may have closed the registration for this one, but just message me on Facebook or something. I'll add y'all to the. I can still add folks to the list, but yeah, shherdoms.com /level-up is where to find that on the website. And we do these about once a month. We're going to take a break in the summer, but I'm so excited that we get to have this at LearningRx, because like I have kind of a basic set of information that I like to share. It's on the Level Up page. It's you know helping people understand, like, what is the timeline they need to do for a school search? What are the different, what's the difference between a private school, a magnet school, a neighborhood public school, all these different terms that people hear and they're not necessarily sure what they mean because the world has changed so much from a generation ago. And then helping people understand, like, what is a child-centered learning model? What is a STEM school or a classical education school or, college and career readiness? So those are just if parents have that information in their toolkit, they can find a learning environment that's going to be the best fit for their kid. And then, I mean, Gina, you're such a student of how to learn and of learning. And I'm just really excited. Like, always the best part is always the Q&A, and so people can come and they can learn about LearningRx. They can ask questions of me, and then it always turns into this like round table, and I always walk away being like, that was amazing. I learned so much.
Yes. Yes. And I've attended one of your level ups, and it is just a wealth of information. I'm so glad that you offer this to families because we get a lot of questions surrounding, best school options and information about charter schools, which I love. And so we are so excited to host this and be a part of that. In any way that, that we can help or provide answers to families, we're happy to do that as well.
Yeah. For anybody who can't make it to a level up event, like I said, we do them about once a month. The Facebook group is ongoing, and that's a place where people can kind of crowdsource information. So it's you just search for San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group, or the link is up on the screen. You can search that way. But yeah, I'm so glad you came to the one that was at Fusion, and I'm really excited about the one on Thursday. Okay, yes, so I want to make sure that people know. Oh, go ahead. I want to make sure people know how to reach you. Oh, sorry. We have a little bit of lag. Go ahead, Gina.
We're just excited about the event. So I'm very excited that you guys are going to be here.
Yeah. And I want to make sure people know how to reach you. And now that they hopefully know more about cognitive skills, the value of getting a cognitive skills assessment, the benefits of brain training, whether it's for their child, their teenager, for adults, for granddad, so you're at the LearningRx San Antonio Northeast Center. So there are multiple centers. So if anybody's watching this in, Colorado or Georgia or whatever, go to the LearningRx website, find what's in your area. But specifically, you're at the, let's see, so I'll put the website up on the screen, but what are the best ways for folks to contact you?
So we certainly welcome calls. Our phone number is 210-96-SMART. So that's pretty easy. Emailing is fine too. We are offering your viewers 50% off a cognitive skills assessment. So it is typically $299. It is $249. So we'd love to be able to extend that out to your families. And you were speaking about different centers across the nation. We also offer virtual training. So sometimes people come to us from, Fredericksburg, Kerrville. We've seen people in McAllen. So we can do virtual training, or a lot of times people do travel to us as well. But we're happy to offer that discount to your viewers. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I said 50% off. It's $50 off. So it's $249 rather than $299.
Okay, great. And that's for a family coming in for a cognitive skills assessment, which is really valuable information. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's great. Okay. So LearningRx San Antonio Northeast, folks can go to the website. It's learningrx.com/San-Antonio-Northeast. That's for folks on the podcast who can't see it on their screen. But if you just go to sachartermoms.com, click on the guest blog post, and that's got links to access the website. And also, there's great blog posts and resources that explain more about what these cognitive skills are, like the whole set, like all these different pieces. And I learned so much from just having a chance to edit and load this post. I encourage everyone to read up on it. I feel like through this interview, like, you've expressed all this hope and confidence that, right, our brains have neuroplasticity. Like, we're not necessarily locked in to how we think we are, that we all have a lot more potential than we may realize. And whether that's us helping our children, or Aaron Kerwin helping Cruz to fulfill his dream. Now he's in college, and hopefully he move on to medical school.
He's doing great. Yes.
Yeah. And still playing football. What a great kid.
Yes. And he will be a doctor. So we are just so excited and so happy for them. I also just wanted to extend myself. we like to be resources for families as well. So we don't, I don't know everything, but I do have a lot of good information. And so I'm happy to sit down with anyone and just talk as well. We will guide anyone to the correct path for them as well.
Yeah. Gina, I know just from talking to you, like the times we've met, I know you have integrity, that right, you believe in what you do with brain training, but you want to help families do what's best for their kids. And that's what I know, you have a genuine curiosity about what we're sharing about all the different school choices in San Antonio. And I know when we talked last time, we were brainstorming. I mean, there's so many different pathways, different ways to help families. It's more a matter of like just helping more families be aware that that they
Yes.
can do more for their kids. They don't have to feel stuck or trapped, or that it's going to be a dream unfulfilled. That there's ways to unlock those powers and help kids get where they really want to be.
Yes, absolutely. Awareness is so important, and you play a big part in making people aware as well. So I'm so glad.
I hope so. I mean, it was pretty scary and pretty hard for us when we got the autism diagnosis, and and then realizing how hard it was to do school research. And so we really want to simplify that for other families. But there's more to it than just schools. There's like sometimes additional interventions or enrichment, or extra training that kids need. And I'm just so thankful that there's options like LearningRx here in San Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're excited to help.
Yeah, great. Okay, well, Gina, I'm looking forward to seeing you on Thursday. I hope more of our listeners can join on Thursday as well for Level Up, and keep doing what you're doing. And I hope we can share more in the future about brain training and LearningRx.
Yes, thank you so much. We look forward to it.
All right, take care.